President was arrested and detained in Dokoro. Was not able to make it to this meeting today. But our position is very clear on elections in this country. They are fraudulent. They are a mockery of democracy. What we have just witnessed in Soroti is despicable. On the eve of the elections, over 100 leaders and agents who had been deployed to man the electoral process were arrested, detained in various detention centers. Some were detained as far as Dokoro, including the party president, and the others were taken to Kokedia. Quite a number of honorable members of parliament, including the Honorable Nzo here, he was also arrested, and a couple of others. No offense had been committed by these leaders, and indeed there are no charges that were preferred against them. On the voting day, it was mayhem. It was thuggery, nothing else. And what happened? They raided various polling stations. In some polling stations, there was open bribery at polling stations, and also members agents were picked. They could not witness what had happened, and you can imagine they were returned to the polling centers after the conclusion of the exercise, only to sign declaration of results forms. And as you have heard from the statement that has been read before you, at some polling station the residue materials were pre-ticked, were ticked in favor of Wariko and stuffed in the ballot boxes, and lots of dirty things happened. Of course, in total violation of the electoral laws, the criminality that was committed was done before cameras. Some of you witnessed what happened. Even the pre-ticked ballot papers, you all captured them on your screen, on your cameras. And there was no shame at all on the part of the regime to orchestrate this broad day thuggery. And we roundly reject the results of that election. It does not reflect the will of the people of Soroti East. It does not in any way meet the tenets, the standards set in the Constitution. And as we said earlier on, it's nothing else but a mockery of democracy. Going forward, we insist that the provisions of Article 3 give us a clear position, way forward on what we should be doing. Article 3 provides that whoever derogates from the provisions of the Constitution, whether they are in state power or not, they commit treason. So we state in no uncertain terms that what happened in Soroti is treasonable. All those agents of the regime, starting with Museveni himself, because he was the mastermind behind this, coming to Nabanja, the Prime Minister, and many others, the Tango Dois, the Mukuras, and whoever, they committed treason. And once you commit treason, it's incumbent upon Ugandans to rise to the occasion, because there is a command that we have already cited in the provisions of the Constitution. That command under Article 3, that the duty rests with Ugandans to stand up and deal with that kind of buffoonery. So it's up to now the people of Uganda, and as the FDC, we make a commitment to work hand in hand with our brothers and sisters in all the party formations that have committed themselves in this instrument to do whatever within our means under the provisions of Article 3 of the Constitution to defend the will of the people. It's important because the cornerstone of democracy, the cornerstone of constitutionalism is upholding the will of the people. So electoral exercises which do not reflect the will of the people are a farce, are a mockery of democracy. So this was a sham exercise, and a trail of that has been happening, as you were told. It happened in Omoro, happened in Kayunga, and we have not been in any way helped by the institutions that are supposed to dispense justice. I will specifically talk about, as I conclude, what happened in the case of Nakwede. It is horrible. And it was well orchestrated. The case which was filed, the papers were duly submitted before court, the pleadings, and the registrar took his time to sign on the notes of presentation of the petition. And the law requires that the notes of presentation of petition shall be served together with the petition. Now the registrar took his time. I think after filing the petition, he did not sign the notes of presentation of petition. He waited until after 4 days. And when you count the days, the 7 days provided for in the law, the service was done within time, because he indicated the day when he signed, when he appended his signature on the notes of presentation of the petition. But the judge dismissed it on technicalities, that service was done out of time. You can see how the judicial has also been drafted into this network, this racket of thuggery, and a couple of other cases we can cite. So we can't stand this. We can't watch with arms folded. We are saying, going forward in the ongoing election cycles, it's not going to be business as usual. And we want Ugandans to embrace this message. We are committed here to working together as a team, as a formidable team, because we stand on the right side of the Constitution. We are the Constitution of this Republic of Uganda is on our side. And we invite Ugandans to firmly stand with us, and all of us who are before you here, we want to speak with one voice. We want to sing in unison that enough is enough, and we must deal with this buffoonery, with this thuggery, with this madness, with this nonsense as a united front. So we are really committed as the FDC in all aspects to deal with this madness. The Constitution should reign supreme, and we invite all stakeholders, please join us in this struggle. The very final thing is we invite the respective supporters of this formation, the members of the FDC, the members of NO, the members of JEMA, PPP, and all other stakeholders. Let's bury our differences and rescue this country from the precipice. We rescue this country from the cliff. We are sitting on a time bomb as a nation. Unless we come together and deal with this madness, the junta will always go away with their thuggery. And with those remarks, we'd like to reiterate our commitment to dealing with this nonsense as a united front. May God bless you. I thank you. In less than a minute, bagambye okuvundula mwezi nti sijja kuddamu bingi, naye ekiriwo mu ggwanga tewakyali kulonda. Kati mwami Yoweri Museveni akola byayagala, era ensonyi zonna bazinaabye kati bye babadde bakola mu nkukutu nga basitaafinga obululu ekiro bagezaako okuyisa wano ne wali ne babuzaabuza kati babikola misana gwaka mu ngeri ya kinanjo kya nkimize ayagala kyoyagala okukola kikole kati tebakyabikkako n'akamu era bwoba wabaddeyo akakyalimu akakunkuna Museveni yalagidde ddala nti kati okulonda asalawo gwayagala ekyabadde Soroti bakutte ba agents ne ba leaders ne party president o FDC ne bamutwala ne bamusibira eddokolo paka ludaku lwajjo abakulembeze ne ba agents abasuka mu 100 polling stations ziri 63 abo bebakutte babadde basobola ozimaaninga bulungi naye buli gwe babadde balaba nti ajja kulwanyisa obubbi nga bakwata gwasiga basiba tewalina misango gye babaguddeko balina polling stations ezimu ng'otatayi aminiti we batuuse nga materials okulonda kuwedde naye waliwo bino ballot paper bwasigaddewo ne babukwata bonna ne babutiikingira aliko ne babuteekamu wali ne babala ba agents babakwata ne babatwala ne babasiba naye we babakomyawo olweggulu abamu nga babagamba kati mwe mujje musayininga DR forms ku kifuba ku mudimu gwa mundu ne babazaayo mukomera kakati eryo lyonna effujjo lye bakoze abo bannabbandi abatangodoyi baani musemateeka liraga nti baba baziiza omusango ogwa Nagomera bwe bayita treason soma article 3 bw'omenya ssemateeka n'okola effujjo erifaana oba omenye oba oziiza omusango ogwa Nagomera era ssemateeka mu nnyingo ey'okusatu akiteeka ku bannayuganda bonna nti bwe mulabanga omuntu alwanyisiza ssemateeka ng'aleesewo effujjo nga lye baakola bibaze bakola mu kulonda kuno muyina omuwaŋŋanga ng'amateeka bwe galagira so n'olw'ensonga eyo ffe ng'aba FDC tuli beeteefuteefu era tuli wano okukakasa eggwanga nti tukwataganye ne bannaffe ab'ebibiina ebirala byonna bugenda mu maaso okulwanagana ne mwami Museveni obutakyusa wiru y'abantu era ekyo tweyama nti ssemateeka kitukakatako era nga tusaba nti mwenna abali eyo abatuwagira bamemba b'ekibiina kyaffe ekya FDC bamemba b'ekibiina ekya NUP ekya JEMA ekya PPP n'abalala mwenna abannayuganda n'oba tuli mu kibiina tuleke okulumaŋŋana twaŋŋange n'akyemalira nga tuli kitole nga tugenda mu kalulu kano obululu bwonna obuddako naye tumwaŋŋange nga tuli kitole so tuli wano okweyama ffe tuli redde okukola omulimu ogwo okulwanyisa nakyemalira mwebale nnyo mwebalire ddala.
Thank you very much. That was the FDC. I said I will follow the order from my right. I want to invite our elder, who is also leading the Red Card movement, as you all know, retired Dr. Kizza Besigye, to give his brief comments. The request of the media is that when you finish the English version, you make you summarize in Uganda. That's the request from the media. May I now invite Dr. Besigye and members of
A very good afternoon to all of you, ladies and gentlemen of the press. I think what we are doing here today, first of all, of course, as you realize, this is mainly an engagement of political parties, because political parties are the ones that go to elections. I am not leading a political party, and so I am not leading to the elections. and therefore my position is slightly different from theirs. But what we are dealing with here today is a very, very fundamental element of how this country will proceed. And I just want to make 3 points on that, in that regard. First is that we are making this statement when our country, Uganda, is in the middle of one of the worst social-economic crises that our country has faced. Every person almost, save for those whom we are united to work against, and they are a handful of people, every other citizen is in crisis of survival. In fact, we characterized the crisis in the country as a crisis of failure to thrive. Failure to thrive. An FTT crisis. That's the crisis in which our country is found today. Now, this crisis is a result, a direct result. It's an economic crisis, it's a social crisis, but the cause of the crisis is political. And the political cause to the crisis is what we are dealing with today. The fact that the people who live in this country, the greatest majority of the people who live in this country have no say in their country. That is where the socio-economic crisis comes from. That we are in a country where we have no say. We are taxed, we don't have a say as to what will happen to our money. Our wealth, which we had collected and was being managed collectively as our wealth, was all taken away by these handful of people. As we watched the national wealth in terms of public assets that Uganda had in 1986, public assets, all public assets were privatized to these individuals who are holding the country captive. And whatever else we produce, they use as they want. We have no say. That's where this crisis comes from. Having a country of people without a say on how their country is managed or how their wealth is managed. That's why people have been crying in this current budget that as people are starving, they have appropriated nearly 2 billion shillings to be spent in one family of Mr. and Mrs. Museveni. They can spend all the money they want as the rest starve. And Museveni will shamelessly come and say, there is nothing to do, just tighten your belts. For him, he's not entitled to have a belt. He doesn't need any belt. It's you to tighten your belts. So that is the cause of the crisis. Having no voice, living in a country without voice, having people without power. So the struggle that the country must undertake is to regain power, to regain influence in the country. That's the struggle, to shift power from those who captured it to those who don't have it. It's a power shift. Now, so the last point I want to make is how does that power shift from those who captured it to those who are now victims of powerlessness? How does the power shift? Will it shift by those who captured us organizing elections and that we come and vote and they say, okay, now you have power, you can now take over the country? It won't happen. And that's what we are confirming today, that elections in and of themselves will not shift power from those who captured it with the guns to the people of Uganda. It will not shift it. Or what now I hear our brother who has just defected from us, if he was with us, the now Minister Robert Mao, that he has gone to lead a process for dialogue to have reforms in the country. That is why he has gone to organize dialogue so that there are reforms in the country. How will those reforms return the power? Even if you organize the dialogue and the reforms are actually done, let's suppose he has been successful. He has organized the dialogue, the reforms have been done. How will the reforms return the power? Because you heard from Momorodi that all the things that were done in all these by-elections, Kayunga, Omoro, Soroti, were all illegal. They were all unconstitutional. You know? It's not that there is a bad constitution or there are bad laws. No. It's that there is impunity. Those with power override whatever law is there. They do what they want. So if you change the law, who will make sure that that law actually is respected? How will the laws be respected? How can the Constitution be respected? So dialogue, while power remains controlled by those who captured it by force, will not shift that power to those who don't have it. You can change the laws, you can change the Constitution even, you can change all, but who will respect them? And whenever they want to change the Constitution anywhere, at any stage, they can change it again, as they have been doing. So, the way to get back our power is to unite all of us and the population to be rallied together. And once that happens, and I am very excited that I can see it now beginning to happen, I can see it happen. Even if it was tomorrow, if we said tomorrow, let all of us do this, this regime has absolutely no capacity to stop it. No, nothing. They have no capacity. So the people must reclaim their power by action. They must take the actions that gave them back their power. And this statement we are signing today, I am very glad is saying that. That we shall not go to lament that our people have been arrested, oh, now what can we do? Now they have stopped the ballot papers. No. That we are now all going to organize, first of all, give the message to the people that it is us to ensure our own freedom. And once they get the message, we organize them to now move to take actions that will ensure their rights are respected. Not asking to serve government to Yambi. We are not going to. Government is our servant, must become our servant. It cannot be our master that we are begging it, asking it. No. So I am very, very excited this afternoon that we are witnessing all patriots. These are the patriots, people who care for the country, not thieves calling themselves patriots. Like the other day you saw Mr. Museveni in uniform, and he put on that uniform to send a message to frighten people in uniform on the eve of elections, saying, I am going to kill anybody who disturbs peace. And later he said, you know, I am the patriot. He's a patriot of starving Ugandans. Shame. How can you call yourself a patriot who has been in charge of a country 37 years and the people are being buried for lack of food? How can you be a patriot? So thank you, patriots, for this today. And Bufunze, siri musanyufu okuba nti tutwala ekiseera kinene nnyo nga tuvunula bye twayogedde mu Lungereza tubiteeka mu nnimi endala, kubanga namwe ogwo gwe mwami gutusonyiweeko ne mugukola. Yes, and essaawa, time is of essence, you know. So bwe njogera mu Luganda vunula oteeke mu Lungereza, bwe njogera mu Lungereza teeka mu Luganda, nga bwe tukola emirimu emirala. Nayogedde ensonga ssatu. Ekisooka nti embeera embi ennyo etalabikangako mu ggwanga lyaffe eri mu bantu baffe olwaleero bonna, embeera y'obuteesobozesa kweyimirizaawo ng'omuntu. Bannayuganda bonna teri akyasobola kweyimirizaawo, teri akyasobola kwefunira mmere nafuna ebikozesebwa awaka neyeyimirizaawo. Embeera eyo ffenna gye tulimu olwaleero ekigireese mbeera ya byanfuna, mbeera bya buweereza, nti mu malwaliro temuli malagala, abaana ku ssomero babazizaayo wakane n'ekiseera ky'okuwummula nga tekinatuuka kubanga tebakyasobola kubalabirira mu masomero. Embeera y'obuweereza n'ebyenfuna eva mu byobufuzi, teyereese yekka, eva mu byobufuzi. Ebyobufuzi ebigamba nti bannansi abo abali mu mbeera y'akatyabaga tetulimu olwaleero nti tebalina ddoboozi mu ggwanga lyabwe. N'olwekyo ebyobugagga bw'eggwanga tebibakolera kubanga tebalina ddoboozi. Ebyasangibwawo nga twali twabikuŋŋaanya ng'ebyobugagga bwaffe obwawamu mu 86 mwami Museveni we yayingirira mu gavumenti, bye yasangawo nga tukuŋŋaanyiza ebyawamu, sente zaali mu commercial bank, Uganda Commercial Bank, Cooperative Bank, simanyi biki, Uganda Railways, simanyi Uganda Airlines, simanyi Uganda Hotels, simanyi biki, bye twali tukuŋŋaanyiza byonna baabigabana abatono ne babitwala. Kati sente zetusolooza ze batusoloozaamu ku mundu era kubanga tetulina ddoboozi erigamba nti otugjeemu nnyingi, oba erigamba nti z'otutte zo zigenda kutukolera ki, batwala ne bakozesa nga bwe bakola ki, nga bwe baagala. So omutawaana gwe tuwangaliramu olwaleero guva mu byabufuzi eby'abantu mu ggwanga batalina ddoboozi. Ekituleese wano kye tukola kwe kugonjoola embeera eyo, kubanga batalina ddoboozi bava batya mu butabeera na ddoboozi ne balifuna. Bw'oba tolina buyinza ova otya mu mbeera y'obutabeera na buyinza n'obufuna. oyo yabukuwambako asobola kutegekera akalulu akakuwa obuyinza bumuveeko bugende gy'oli nga yabuwamba buwambi. Kye babadde batulaga mu kulonda kwonna kwe tuyiseemu, babadde batulaga nti obuyinza obusalirawo eggwanga lino ffe tubuyina, ffe tusalawo ani anaasalirawo eggwanga, si mmwe. Kye babadde batulaga abantu ne bakuba akalulu n'okukakuuma ne bakakuuma n'ebivuddemu ne birabika ne bagamba nti ne balangira ebirala. Gwe kola kyoyagala, bw'oddukira mu kooti kivaayo kyekyo omuloodi kyayogeddeko nti ne kooti nazo ziri mu buwambe. Ate babiwamba tulaba kooti amagye gagirumba misana tuku, kooti gye tuddukiramu Black Mamba zagirumba ne zigisaanyaawo nga tulaba misana. Palamenti gye tuwoza tulina palamenti amagye gagirumba ne gagiwamba nga tulaba misana. Abamu bakyali ku migo abakubibwa mu palamenti ne bamenyeko emigongo. So bakulaga nti temuyina buyinza, ffe tubasalirawo. Kati badde bazze batulaga mu kalulu konna bwe tugendamu bwe kye bagezaako okutulaga. Bwe balaba nga kubanga baagala ensonga lwaki bategeka akalulu, baagala kweraga eri wabweru nti nabo bayise mu mbeera y'akalulu. So kati basobola okusalawo ako mukabalekera nakali ako mukabawe basobole okugamba nti tutegeka obulati nga mwe muli mu palamenti nemwe ndaba mwe muli. Kati bwe tubawangula bwe mukayana, bwe muwangula temukayana, naye nga temwawa sisimu zimu be bakkiriza nti ako kabakatwale nakali kabakatwale. So ffe tulowooza era nga kyetukuŋŋaaniddeko olwaleero nti akalulu tetujja kukkiriza kagende mu maaso bwe katyo nga balimba nsi yaffe nga balimba n'ab'ebweru. Tetujja kusigala nga tukola nga bye tubadde tukola. Batudde babakutte munnange. Tetujja kugenda mu kalulu kulajjana. Bwe tuba tugenze mu kalulu tugenda kuwulira abantu abali eri abaagala enkyukakyuka beekolemu omulimu okulaba nti obuyinza bwabwe babulwanirira mu kalulu keno. Tetulaga ate abantu bwe tubanga twegasse ne tugamba ensi yonna nti enkya kino kyekirina okutambula, ffenna ne tukyegatiramu ne kitambula, Mwami Museveni wakoma. Tuli maanyi gasobola ne bwaba n'emmundu ezifaanana zitya n'ebimotoka nga tusazeewo eggwanga lyonna ne tusalawo nti tetukyatambula na kino tukiyimiriza, kijja kuyimirira. N'olwekyo ndowooza enneetegeka yeetambule tulabe, kubanga bw'obba akalulu tobba abantu basigalawo. Abantu be mwalaba ensolo tibali bonna, be mwalaba gye bali ye talinaayo. So bwe tugamba ti Soroti eyimirire ejja kukola ki? Ejja kuyimirira kubanga bagireka ng'etambula tabalina. Ate n'abo babalanga ababe lwakuba bakyamulaba nga yalina ensawo omusobola okuva ensako gye bajjamu ak'okulya. Naye bwe balabanga n'ekyo takyakisobola nteri ajja kumubeerako. So tuli basanyufu nti olwaleero bannayuganda ffenna bandowooza zonna tujjeyo eddoboozi nti tutambulire wamu, tusooke tulabe nti bannayuganda obuyinza bwabwe bubaddidde. Kati bweba n'obuyinza bwe basobola okusalawo abaagala okuwagira nkola ki oba nkola ki, bwe tusobola okufuna akalulu ak'amazima abantu nga bamaze okufuna obuyinza. So mbeebaza mwenna abatambuzizza endowooza eno. Ate ndowooza twebaze oba oliawo n'akeeyongerayo muganda wange Robert Kyagulanyi, kubanga ye yagambye kwe twavudde Soroti n'agamba nti bannange kati kiyitiridde twekolemu ki, twekolemu omulimu. Of course ffe nga bwe mbagambye ebyebibiina twabiteeka dda bbali, ffe tubadde olwedde tukola ki, olwedde tubadde tutambula, tujjako nti babadde bantwala ne munnange ono yeka, oba oliawo kati bajja kututwala ffenna ekintu kirabike bulungi. Kale mwebale nnyo, mwebalire ddala, katulabe ebinaddako.
Simanyi oba ne MC naye avunula mu Uganda. Thank you very much, retired Dr. Kizza Besigye. I now have the pleasure to invite the President of National Unity Platform to make his comments.
Thank you very much, Sibo. Thank you very much, Comrade Dr. Besigye and other leaders that have addressed us today. No, Dr. Besigye, nakyabadde asabye ate kyandinkoledde wadde agambye twogere mu lulimi lumu mwe mubikyuse, kati nandyogedde mu Luganda eby'Oluzungu ne mubikyusa. But for the importance of conveying this message, I'll also use both languages. Most has been said. I cannot overemphasize the words of our brother, the Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago. I certainly cannot overemphasize the words of Dr. Besigye. That's exactly the truth and more. Where we are, ladies and gentlemen, we all see. We cannot pretend not to see. We cannot pretend not to see that Museveni organizes elections, but in real sense organizes a fight where he is over-equipped and we are zero-equipped. You saw the general elections of 2021, you saw Kayunga, you saw Omoro, now you've seen Soroti and many other places. Many times when we just go into elections, get out of that crazy election only to go into another without anything gives the wrongest message to our people. In many ways, we tend to legitimize those elections when we leave Kayunga just into another election. Even when the Kayunga election has been a bogus one, we tend to fit into Museveni's narrative. However, we've always agreed that we go into these elections, you know, as rallying platforms. However, when things come in certain ways, we have to think in certain ways as well, ladies and gentlemen. Now, having heard from my fellow leaders, I just want to send messages to two types of people, maybe three. First, I want to send a message to my fellow leaders. Leaders from different political parties, different formations, from different levels. Number one, I think the time has come for us to change our gospel, for us to change our message and be more realistic to the electorate. We go into the election promising change, even at MP level, even when we know that when one becomes an MP under the Museveni regime, apart from agitating, apart from using the parliamentary platform, we can change very little. Therefore, it's my considered view that our message should be more of a revolutionary message. Whether campaigning for MP or even for LC1, the main agenda should be using that election, one, to sensitize people, but to also make that election, no matter how small it is, a spark to chase the junta. I think the election should be more for sensitization than for winning. In any case, we know that Museveni decides days, sometimes months before the election, who the winner will be. So let's go into these elections, not looking at them as normal elections, because they are not normal elections. When you're going to an election, let the people know, let our supporters and voters and followers know what exactly we're going into, so that when they come from that election, whatever comes from that election, we have taken another step towards our liberation. Number two, let us try as much as possible to make that particular election a spark. Museveni is making mistakes all the time. So don't go to an election only looking for a win and walking away from there. Let's go to because that is the reality of it. Let us try to go into every election knowing that that particular election, wherever it is, can be a spark that chases Museveni away. Let us remember the Arua election. I mean, we go to elections now, they arrest our leaders, they kill some of our people, we don't do nothing. That should challenge us as leaders to think of what next. And third and most important message to the leaders, friends, let us unite. Let us unite in the real sense of unity. And this message doesn't only go to leaders at presidential or MP levels, but at all levels. You notice, friends, that we have made it easy for Museveni by fighting each other. We have changed our targets from the enemy to each other. And it's unfortunate that even those that work closely with us are not making it easy for us to come together. Now, this country is bigger than our political parties. And the mission is bigger than building our political parties. In any case, one would rightly argue that there are no political parties in Uganda because we don't operate like political parties. Political parties are recognized in a democracy. But in a country where you cannot even organize as a political party, then we cannot boast of being political parties. Therefore, we are all slaves. And the more we fight against each other, is the more we prolong it from Museveni. I will mention that many of us leaders are working closely to each other, but you, our followers, you, our supporters, and you, our fellow leaders, especially those below us, are making it easy for us to unite and therefore unite you as well. For example, I might have a very good communication line with the Dr. Besigye, with the Honorable Rukwago, with the Honorable Asumani Basariwa, but again, those under me might undermine the same. And the same thing also applies to the other side. You know, I might be relating very well to with Dr. Besigye. You don't know how many times you have a coffee, how many times you discuss. But the more that I hear negativity from his side, or he hears negativity from my side, it even creates that suspicion. And friends, please make it easy for us to work together. Now, my second and final message goes to the people of Uganda. We leaders have united, or at least have made an effort to unite for a common cause. But we are only leaders, and if you don't follow us where we go and where we show you, we won't succeed. So please get involved. Number one, fellow Ugandans, and this includes supporters, voters, even we the leaders, because we are also Ugandans. We are on our own, you are on your own. Therefore, get involved. Don't depend on only leaders, don't depend on only politicians. You've seen politicians sell out. Now think about those who are following Mao. So don't over-depend on just the politicians. I want to believe that most of Ugandans know now where we want to go. Play a role, lead from whatever angle, from whatever position you are. Lead your people to where you want them to go. We encourage you to rise up. And on this note, I want to salute the people of Jinja, the people of Eastern Uganda, the people of Busoga, thank you. Rise up, especially non-violently. protest. Dictators only listen to protests. Don't give up, my friends, because non-violent protests work. The reason why Museveni will come to you with all manner of ammunition, with all manner of weapons, because he knows that's what dropped all the dictators before him. You saw it happened in Sudan. Recently it happened in Sri Lanka. So let us rise, friends. You Ugandans, you have a big role to play in this. Do not give up. Continue protesting. I encourage it. I know that whenever the people of Uganda realistically threaten Museveni, that's when he comes out with brute force. But continue shaking him, continue shaking him. He's not as firm as he used to be, and we won't be as firm tomorrow as he is now. So continue shaking him. Last but not least, I want to remind you, friends, that much as they are political parties, the original inspiration, at least to myself and my team, was people power, was the power of the people. People power means you. When you go to elections and you're frustrated, at least you know you have the power. Organize, organize, organize. Connect with all like minds. The biggest objective is to drop Museveni. These other, intentions are smaller. One might want to become MP, you come from that election, they become MP, they become mayor. But for as long as Museveni is president, we are still in trouble. So let's pursue the common agenda, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I always hasten to mention that we are non-violent. We do not promote violence. However, I know that there will come a time when we cannot stop even those violent ones. Okay? The Constitution commands us to defend it. The Musevenis, when they were younger, they picked up guns. Do they think people can't pick up guns? So we might not be encouraging people to pick up guns, but again, we are losing the moral authority to stop whoever wants to do whatever. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to call upon all Ugandans, whether you're a political leader, religious leader, traditional cultural leader, etc., stand on the right side of history. We have seen not only politicians selling their souls, we've also seen religious leaders, we've seen traditional leaders, but the people are watching, the people are supreme, and at the end of the day, you'll end up in the dustbin of history. Museveni has already wasted it. So don't follow the corpse to the grave. Lwaki oluzungu sirikomyawo? Kambidde mu Luganda mpola mpola. Okusooka nja kwebaza abakulembeze bannaffe olw'okubeera naffe leero nga twogerako eri eggwanga. Ebisinga byogeddwa era sibiwakanya, binkiikirira bulungi nnyo, wabula nze obubaka bwange bwa mirundi ebiri. Obusooka bugenda eri bakulembeze bannange. Oluvannyuma lw'okutunuulira okulonda kuno okutegekebwa nga kubanga kwa kuwuddisa bantu kubaziba amaaso, tugenda mu kulonda naye nga Museveni asazeewo dda wiiki nnyingi oba mwezi mulamba oba myezi ani agenda okulonda. Ne tugenda mu kalulu, abantu ne bajoogebwa, eddoboozi ly'abantu ne livulugibwa, naye ate ne tuvaayo ne tugenda bugenzi mu kalulu kalala. Kibanga ekigamba nti tuzze wano ne Museveni alage naddala amawanga agavujjirira Uganda ssente nti okulonda kubaddewo era awangudde. Era twayogeddemu ne bakulembeze bannange ne tugamba ekyo tekigenda kugenda maaso bwe kityo, eyo sigiri egenda okubeera emmanya y'enkoko. N'olw'ensonga eyo obubaka bwange nga nze eri bakulembeze bannange buli nti bwe tuba tugenda mu kulonda tukyuse enjiri yaffe nga tugenda mu kulonda, tukyuse meseji yaffe nga tugenda mu kulonda. Abantu baleme genda mu kulonda nga basuubira nti tugenda kulonda kati omuntu atuyambe. In many case ti ne bwe baba balangiridde oyo gwe bagadde okulangirira ng'ali ku ludda lwaffe, kitono kyasobola okukyusa Museveni bw'aba nga yakyatufubaddeko. N'olw'ensonga eyo tugende nga mu kulonda, bwe tuba tugenze mu kulonda tugende mu kulonda nga tumanyi nti tugenze mu lutalo, nga tumanyi nti tugenze kuzoganya, era nga tumanyi nti tugenze kuwagala bantu. Tugende mu kulonda nga tunuulidde ebintu bingi, naye okusingira ddala okulonda okwo kuyinza okubeera emmanduso egenda okutwala Museveni. kuba buli kulonda Museveni akola ebyobuswavu bingi nnyo, buli kulonda Museveni amenya amateeka mangi nnyo, ajoga bannayuganda bangi nnyo. Ekyennaku abantu ne basigala nga tebalina kye bakoze okusinziira ku kye baba balina okukola n'okusinziira ku joogo lye baba bataddeko. Ekirala ekyokusatu, njagala obbasaba bakulembeze bannange, tukwatagane, tukolagane, kubanga tulina ebitugatta bingi okusinga ebitwawula. Naate nga nekitugattira ddala ekisinga obukulu, ekisinga byonna kyekyokuba nti ffenna tuli basibe, ffenna twagala kujjako Museveni. Tuyinza ogenda mu kulonda nga tuli babibiina byanjawulo ne tulumagana, okwawukana mu bibiina oba okwawukana mu bakandideti, ne kijjawo ekifaananyi ekikulu, ne kijjawo mission enkulu. Ye Museveni kiba kimukolera. Nkiraba ebiseera bingi mufa abakulembeze naddala ababali wansi waffe n'embawagizi baffe nga ne bwe tugezaako okukwatagana bo tekibakolera. Njagala obategeeza nti buli tulumagana tuba tuyamba Museveni. Tetwetaaga kuba ba mukwano, tetwetaaga kuba nga tukubiragana essimu, naye ate era tetwetaaga kulwanagana kuba Museveni ayagala nga tulwanagana. In fact ajja kuinvestinga kyamaanyi nnyo okulaba nga ateekawo okubagana wakati waffe kubanga kitusala speed. Fe abakulembeze tuyinza okuba tukwatagana. For example, nkyogeddeko mu luzungu wano nti olumu tukyaliragana n'abakulembeze, naye ate mmwe bannange bakulembeze bannaffe naddala abatuli wansi mukifuula kizibu ffe okukwatagana, mukifuula kizibu ffe okukolagana. Buli otekinga step okolagana, ebigambo ebiba gye muli birina kubanga bituinkareginga nti ekyo kyemukola kituufu kubanga kituufu. Nate bwe tukwatagana ate mwe ne mulufuula lutalo wakati wammwe mubiba mu bikalu bya bannange, muba mutulemesa. Ffe tumanyi n'okwekubira kasimu ne tunywa ne kacaayi ne kati gwe kuba akafaananyi ng'oli wa NUP mbadde ne Dr. Besigye ate nga amanyi nti oli ttaano wange naye naalaba ate ng'owandiise bw'oti olowooza tabatanneekengere. Abaffe gwe kuba akafaananyi nti nookola naye ne tukwatagana naye ate nendaba ng'obaka obuvudde gy'oli buli negative mbasigenda mwekengera. N'olw'ensonga eyo mukutukaluubiriza bannange mutugondeze okukwatagana kubanga mulwisa omwaka Uganda. Obubaka bwange obusembayo nja busindika eri bannayuganda. Okusookera ddala mujjukire nti muli ku lwammwe, mulekerawo okwesiga okulonda kwokka kuba okulonda kwokka tekugenda bayamba. Elections alone will not help you. Our recent history has shown us. So tulina ogenda mu kulonda nga tulina ebirowoozo ebyenjawulo. Mumanye nti tujja eyo okulonda tuba tuzze bagatta, tuba tuzze kubawagala. Okusingira ddala okulonda tulina okugenda mu kulonda nga tugenze kuzoganya. Tetukyanguyiza Museveni kubeera tuvudde mu kulonda ate ne tudda mu kulala bwe tuti. Ffe nga ffe ekyatuleeta mu byobukulembeze twajja kusitula amaanyi g'abantu kyetwayita people power. Naye people power yemmwe ffe nga abakulembeze tusobola okulaba ekkubo ne tulikwata namwe ne tubayita, naye ate bwe mutatugoberera kwata kkubo eryo tuba tetukola ki, tetujja kumalako. N'olw'ensonga eyo bannange bwe tubasongeranga abantu mukole ekyetaagisa. Ekirala nja kubasaba musitukiremu buli we musobola. Buli wava message oba evudde wange oba evudde wani kaseba nga message yakuzoganya Museveni kumujjako mujettanire musitukiremu. Mu mbeera eno njagala n'okwebaza abaana b'ebusoga, abaana b'ejjinja mwebale nnyo okwebereramu. Engeri yokka esobola okujjako Museveni. Kale nammwe bwe mulabanga bannammwe nga basituze oba baluwa bwe basituse Uganda yonna esituke, oba b'Ebuganda bwe basituse Uganda yonna esituse, oba b'Ekabale bwe basituse mwenna musituke. Engeri yokka gye tugenda okusobola okutaasa eggwanga lyaffe. Ensonga lwaki Museveni ajjayo n'atemula abantu kubanga munnange akimanyi nti engeri yokka bannakyemalira gye bagenda, engeri yokka bannakyemalira w'e Sudan gyagenze, engeri yokka nakyemalira w'e Sri Lanka gyagenze. N'olw'ensonga eyo bwe mulabanga bannammwe bayimukiddemu nammwe musitukiremu basebo ne bannyabo. Nja kumaliriza nga mbasaba kubanga kukubadde okusaba kwaffe. Bwe muba mwekalakaase mu ddembe, bwe muba mwekalakaasa temukola fujjo. Ffe yenkola yaffe tukkiririza mu kwekalakaasa. Nkiddamu tukkiririza mu kwekalakaasa. era tubakunga mwenna buli alina omukisa yekalakase mu ddembe nera tubategeeza ne gavumenti tugitegeeza nti wadde ffe abantu bagamba kwekalakasa mu ddembe tumanyi nti ekiseera kijja kutuuka nga abantu bakoye bekalakase mu nekalakasa yonna yonna ng'etaddeko n'eri eyakaali Museveni bekalakasa na mundu n'olw'ensonga eyo kiyamba mwa Museveni ne gavumenti ye obutasindiikiriza abantu ku levo yakwekalakasa na mundu. Maliriza ng'era nkunga bannayuganda mwenna muorganizinge mu mbeera yammwe oba muli mu kibiina kyammwe kya byabufuzi oba temuli pate kuba bangi nnyo tebali pate naffe aba NUP twasooka kubeera people power era njagala nnyo bwe tuba tukola ebintu tobikola just nga wa kibiina kyo bwe tuba twagala okujjako Museveni ebyafaayo byonna bitulaga nti tewali kibiina era twakyogerako nti tewali kibiina kyonna kigenda kujjako nakyemalira nga kiri kyokka ekibiina kyonna ekigenda okujja kigambe nti ffe nga ffe tugenda okujjako nakyemalira baba bakusudya muba mulina kwatagana mwenna ate si bibiina byabufuzi byokka tuli wano nga bakulembeze naye muli eyo bannayuganda bangi nnyo abasobola okwekolamu omulimu mugende mu maaso nga mwekolamu omulimu tubawagira mu buli ngeri yonna nammwe bannayuganda munnayuganda yenayina abaako kyayita abaako meseji gyabatuusaako nga yakuzoganya Museveni mumwegatteko naffe tujja beegatta kate naffe bwe tubayita mutwegatteko tukolere wamu sobole okwejjako nakyemalira basebo ne bannyabo mwebale nnyo mwebalire ddala.
Thank you very much. The President of NUP. Before I invite the next leader, I want to recognize the presence of leader of the opposition in Parliament, the Honorable Matthias Mpuga. Also recognize the presence of the Chairman Jema, Elder Haji Muhammad Mayanja Shibirige, my colleague MP Chamuswari, Honorable Moses Kabusu. May I now invite the President of Jema, the Honorable Asumani Basariwa, because I failed to limit the time for the ones who spoke earlier. I am now powerless.
Ate weeralikirira ssebo bakulembeze bannange nja kusooka n'olulimi lwensinga okutegeera Oluganda lwesitegeera bulungi Oluzungu lwenja okusembyayo. Ffe tuli wano nga abajeema kukakasa era kwegatta ku kiwandiiko ekikoleddwa era nekisomebwa wano olwaleero, era nga twagala kuwa bweyamu nti ebiri mu kiwandiiko ekyo byonna tujja bikolerako. Ennaku zino waliwo ekintu kye batera okuŋŋamba tekinsanyusa. Bagamba nti basaalirwa kati ye pulezidenti w'ekibiina mu opposition akyasiiza okuwangaala ennyo. Bano bonna abaliwo bansanga nga nkulembera kibiina, so unduddewo nnyo. I am the longest serving party president of an opposition political party in Uganda currently. No, Kenny Luchamuzi, I was earlier than him, I remember. Naye ate mukulwawo nnyo nfunyemu ebyokuyiga bingi. Wakati enteekateeka zino zonna zize zibeerawo nga nziri wakati. Okuviira ddala eri wansi tuli mu IPFC, tuzaawo tuli mu IPC, tuli mu FOC, tuli mu 4GC, tuli mu TDA, tuli mu People Power nga basaalirwa wendi. N'olwekyo bino byonna bye tulaba wano ebikolebwa tubibaddemu, naye ate ebbanga lye tubimazeemu eggwanga lifunyemu. N'olwekyo nja kwebaza abakulembeze bannange olw'okuteekawo enteekateeka muganda wange Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu ne ttiimu abalabye obwetaavu okulaba nti tuddemu tutandike okukwatagana ng'era bwe tubadde tukola ebbanga lyonna ku lw'obulungi bw'eggwanga. Emabega eyo tubadde tuyina nnyo essuubi mu bululu obuddibwamu by election, si kyekyo? Ng'era bwe bagamba nti wagenda kubeerawo by election mu Uganda wonna nga waliwo essuubi nti by election eyo ab'opposition bajja giwangula. Naye eryo essuubi ligenze likola ki? Liggwaawo. Twakiraba Omoro, ne tukiraba e Kayunga, tukirabye e Soroti, ne wali awalala we wagenda okubeera sirowooza nti eryo essuubi likyaliwo. Kyova olaba nga enkola eno oba enteekateeka eno nnungi nnyo kuba ejja kutuzza ku mulamwa ogw'okumanya ensi yaffe gy'eraga. Finally, I am here to confirm that as Justice Forum, we fully associate with the statement or document that has been read today, that has been signed by leaders of political parties and formations that are gathered here. We commit to fully abide by both the letter and spirit of that document, because it is our considered opinion that that document represents the future of this country. I want to invite colleagues to remember that in the recent past, each time we have had a by-election, it was a sure win for the opposition. But that possibility every day is waning, is disappearing, is dissipating. That means the need for us to come together to discuss, to engage for the future of the country becomes necessary. It is now absolutely clear that Mr. Museveni and the NRM are provoking Ugandans. When you see what happened in Soroti, it is total provocation. What happened in Kayunga is total provocation. What happened in Omoro is total provocation. Now, these provocations, by the way, are deliberate. And they are intended to send a message, let's do this after all. What will they do? I think this is the answer. So whoever thinks they are going to provoke Ugandans and we shall sit aside, I think this is a very big lesson. I want to remind you, colleagues, that even us leaders can be vulnerable. But as the call has been made, this struggle must be owned by Ugandans. It is you, the Ugandans, that must take this struggle ahead. In countries where there have been change, I'll ask, and I'll talk about a country where I have been, or where I was several times before the revolution, Libya. I used to go to Libya almost every year because there used to be events there. There was no opposition in Libya. It was not there. Who among us journalists here can tell us who was the leader of opposition during the era of brother leader Muammar Gaddafi? Who? Because Gaddafi was the imam, was the leader of the opposition, was the mufti, was everything. But time came, the people rose up, even without leadership. In Tunisia, this young man who set himself ablaze, he was not a member of any political party. So that should be able to tell Ugandans that when it comes to reclaiming your country, when it is about your country, you must take charge without necessarily looking at us, the leaders. We will be present, we will provide the leadership. But if you think we are taking you to the wrong direction, please reclaim your country, because after all, this is about you, this is about Uganda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the President of GEMA. You see, Soroti was very interesting. At a polling station called Akumu Catholic Church, the people they sent to arrest FDC agents didn't know them. So they also arrested an NRM agent. An NRM agent, his name is called Mwoku Michael. He has been released on the same bond with FDC. They discovered that even there they had arrested. So that's how rampaging these people were. May I now invite the president of PPP, and then we will be concluding this press conference.
Thank you very much, Honorable Semju, fellow leaders, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what I'm going to add on what my fellow leaders have said, but I'll just make a few comments just to augment on what my leaders have said. First of all, I want to thank Honorable the President of NUP for this initiative, because this has been long overdue. This has been long overdue. We have been talking about it every day, every time. But because of these differences and those differences, every initiative that has been that we have been doing to make sure that we come together has been in vain. So I want to thank you very much that at least today you have managed to rally us and brought us together here. But I also want to thank Dr. Besigye. You know very well that in the recent past, Dr. Besigye, Honorable Mr. Rwega Mukapo and others took the initiative to try to rally us together. They invited us in meetings, we sat in meetings until we reached a level of signing a memorandum of understanding to work together, where People's Progressive Party did not sign because our point was that we cannot claim to be uniting when National Unity Platform, which is the biggest party now in the opposition, is not part of the unity. So we thought that it would be relevant if we came together, National Unity Platform, FDC, DP at that time, before they joined the eating group, we thought that we would be together to have a formidable group, a formidable formation that can shake this dictatorial regime. Honorable Besigye has talked about previous initiatives to come together. I have been part of almost all those initiatives. Honorable Besigye, as you remember. Since 1996, some of us have been part and parcel of the fight to liberate Uganda from this dictatorial regime. But what is it that has failed all these initiatives? We must ask that big question. Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, Dr. Besigye, all other fellow leaders, we must ask a big question. What is it that has failed all the other initiatives that we have tried to put in place? For instance, there was a time when, I don't know whether it was IPFC, where they were going to sign a memorandum of understanding, and one of the party leaders did not turn up. So, to me, this honesty is what we must deal with if we are to unite. This honesty is very, very important, is a key in everything, more especially in the political struggle where we are fighting a dictator who can at any one point in time can infiltrate the group and use some elements within the organized groups to disorganize the group. So honesty is very, very important if this initiative that we have started shall progress. So it's very, very important. I also want to augment another point. We are all politicians here, but there are some bodies, professional bodies, religious bodies in this country. Where are you? Where are you? Journalists, where are you? This message we are conveying is not about politicians alone. Where about liberating your country. Being a journalist does not mean that you are supposed to be neutral in each and everything. In developed countries, some newspapers, some TVs affiliate to some political, parties. You must have a cause as, professional bodies. In countries like Sudan, when they were chasing away Bashir, all professional bodies, law societies, journalists, every professional body came out and went to the streets. At one point in time here, when there was no work to work, it is Kasita that wrote a letter to government to come and and disperse the crowds that had come to participate in walk to work. Now, where are they? All their businesses have crippled. Nobody can now do anything. But because at that moment in time they thought that it is only the politicians who are being harassed, who are being persecuted. Now it has eaten everybody. So I want also to call upon all of us, because here in this country, when they are touching on Batembei, those in Owino claim that no. For us, we are not in Owino, it is about Batembei. When they are touching on border people and they are trying to demonstrate, the Owino people claim that for them they are not riding borders. When are we going to come out together that what is touching me is touching him and it is touching this one? That is what we must do to make sure that we create a critical mass. In fact, our participation in these elections, as Honorable Chagulanyi has just said, is not about winning alone. Because what Museveni is doing is to create apathy amongst our population, creating apathy so that we no longer participate in that election. That is what he is trying to do. You are saying that he's provoking us. No, he's deliberately creating that apathy so that at the end of the day, the population shall resign and say we should not participate anymore. Our participation is to try to create a critical mass, and we must continue participating, it doesn't matter what, so that we build that critical mass that shall ultimately do what Dr. Besigye is saying. That is what took Museveni in the election of 1980. He knew he was not going to win. He knew. But he participated to create a justification for him to go and do what he did. So our participation is majorly to try to build that critical mass, and we must continue doing that. Just like I said, everything has been said. I'm just echoing, I'm just augmenting some of the points that my colleagues have just, elaborated well here. But how can we work with the Electoral Commission? I was talking to Honorable Chagulanyi here, and I was giving him a scenario. Here we are talking about Omoro, we are talking about Soroti. But remember the time when Honorable Chagulanyi was arrested in Luuka. When the Chairman Electoral Commission was asked whether he knew what was happening in Luuka, he said for him, he did not have a DSTV at home. Therefore, he could not see and witness what had gone on in Luuka. Can you imagine where such an institution that is supposed to be the presiding officer in an election, somebody comes out in a joking way and say, for me, they had cut me off the DSTV and I could not see. You remember the consequences of his arrest, where hundreds of people died. Here is a lawyer, a senior lawyer, whom you think that at one point in time sanity would prevail, but he is saying he didn't see. So we must make sure that we rally together to force this dictatorial regime out. With those few remarks, mbadde ngamba nti nebaza Honorable Kyagulanyi okutuleeta together. Kino tubadde tukirwanirira nga tukirwanirira ebbanga lyonna. Ate era nebaza Dr. Kizza Besigye, Mr. Mukapu ne banne, kubanga kino bo baali bakitandikako dda. Naye bwe bakitandika abamu ku ffe twakirimu. Naye bwe baali basayininga twabaga nti nedda tetujja kusayininga, tujja kuba observer era tujja kukolagana nammwe. Era in fact, Mr. Osinde here, Mr. Osinde, can you stand up for recognition? This is a PPP member who is an administrator in PFT initiative. So we have been working with them. Naye twe twasayininga nga tubagamba nti kyetaagisa ffenna tubeere wamu. Era natwala omutawaana okusinkana Honorable Kyagulanyi emirundi egiwera nga njagala tugende okwegatta nga ekibiina ekisinga obunene mu ggwanga eky'opposition mu kwegatta omwo mwekiri. Ndi happy, ndi musanyufu nti olwaleero Honorable Kyagulanyi akikoze ne tusobola okwegatta. Mbagambye nti ffenna mu Uganda tulina obligation okulwana luno olutalo. Mmwe ab'amawulire mmwe mwennyini muli part and parcel of this struggle. Muleme kulowooza nti mwe mujja bujja kuripootinga bye twogedde. Nammwe mulina obuvunaanyizibwa okuddayo bino ne mubyamplifyinga ate ne mubigaziya n'okutusinga kubanga muba n'obudde bungi. Bwe baba babonyaabonya ab'amawulire, babonyaabonya bannabyabufuzi, nammwe mukola ki? Nammwe mubeeramu. Mu mawanga agaakula empapula z'amawulire zibeera ne sayidi. Toyinza kubeerawo ng'oga nti nze ndi ku fensi siina wendi. Si kive professionally okulaba nga abantu banyigirizibwa naawe n'okola ki? N'ofuna sayidi. Tukubira banna professional bodies, Uganda Law Society, bayinginiya, baani, abantu abali mu business. Kino tekirina gwe kitajja kutuukako. Bakasiita olumu bawandiika ebbaluwa nga bagamba mbunna abajja mu kibuga okwekalakaasa bagenda kwonoona emirimu gyabwe. Olwaleero bakasiita bagamba nti tewali alikola bizinesi ekyakola, zonna zaakola ki? Zaagwa. Naye nga baali balowooza nti kwolwo bo baprotectinga ki? Bizinesi zaabwe. So tubakubira omulanga. Bannaddiini ebintu bisobola kubitya okugenda maaso Soroti ebifaanana bwe bityo. Ne tutalaba babishopu b'e Soroti nga bavuddeyo kubaako kye boogera. Ebintu bigenda bitya maaso Amoru ne tulaba bishopu be Amoru nga bavuddeyo okubaako kye bakola ki? Kye boogera. Yes, waliwo abavaayo okwogera. Naye twagala tulabe ku maloboozi ng'agaba Kadino Nsubuga, ng'agaba Bishop Kawuma nga gavaayo. Kubanga kino ekigenda maaso bwe kinaagenda nga kyeyongerayo. N'abagoberezi tebajja kugenda mu ki? Mu kyaki. N'ebigambo ebyo njagala kubeebaza kuwuliriza naye na kubagamba nti eno message egende ate egende ne wa President Museveni nti luno lwe tutandise tetugenda kudda mabega. Mwebale kumpuliriza.
Thank you very much, President of PPP. I want to invite the Honorable Matthias Mpuga, who is our leader in Parliament, to commit on our behalf, those of us who do work in Parliament, and then I will advise what we'll do next.
Thank you, Comrade Ibrahim Semju. Our party leaders, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, be very brief. The representation here from the different political party leaders summarizes the sentiments of the people and the frustrations of the leaders. You know, sometimes you can be joined together by your goals, but also your frustrations. I think all of us have in a way tested how frustrating to work as either a loner or as a divided group, but pursuing the same goal. I would like this evening, ladies and gentlemen, first of all to initially thank our leaders for this noble initiative. The cause for a better Uganda can only serve the purpose of joining all of us, regardless of roots, regardless of individual pursuits, regardless of whether we actually are friends. The duty to serve Uganda must, as of necessity, bring us together. And I'm glad today to speak on behalf of members of Parliament from the opposition. Although over the last couple of years, sort of days, I'm still wondering whether I'm still keeping my 9 members that were mortgaged within by the landlord with the Mizugos he sold. So, but probably I'll have a meeting with them over the week to confirm their allegiance to the common cause. Omanyichi wali kizunga landlord kutundira mizigo n'agamba nti n'abo mbakuweereddemu abapangisa kola kyoyagala. But I would like to most heartily thank you, our leaders. It's not an easy job for us in Parliament when the foundations from where these members come from are divided. It's an easier job for me to do and enforce my duty and my role as a leader when the roots are firm, when the foundations communicate. And I'm glad today I can crack the whip if anybody veers off the cause of unity of the parties in and outside the Parliament. I want to thank you most sincerely. And I would like to use the same platform to extend the same clarion call to all and sundry that we are not aliens in this country, and that all of us have a duty, and all of us have a capacity. The capacities can vary, the abilities can be different, but all of us can make a contribution to make this country a better country, and that we can actually summon our little energies to make them really bigger energies by working together. Thank you so much for this initiative, and I can pledge and promise that I'm going to rally my troops to move with this initiative. Thank you so much. Obufunze okwebaza obuyiiya buno n'obutetenkanya embeera eno ennyanja embi eno etukwasa ku nkanaga tukkiriza nti buli kimu tukikoze ekibadde kibulawo kwegatta amaanyi gano era njagala kusuubiza ku lwabanange mu Parliament nti nange omulimu gwange gujja kwanguwa nga tewali yeebuzaabuza ng'ekimuganya okutambula naffe agenda kusooka kulinnya motoka yaddeyo ku kitebe yeebuuze. Okwebuuza kwawedde musululu moja. Anaava ku mugendo, anaaba atambula olugendo lwe, tumwagaliza olugendo olulungi n'ekiwummulo eky'emirembe gy'anaaba alaze oba namulejana. Ebitusomooza bingi, ne mu bunafu bwaffe sekinnoomu waliwo amaanyi mangi nnyo abanafu bwe beegatta bafuna amaanyi. Tetubeerangako banafu, ffe twenyooma. Olwaleero tufunye omukisa okujjukiza nti amaanyi gaffe mangi nnyo, tetugasaasaanya tuwa omulabe omunafu lubojje n'afaanana ng'ow'amaanyi. N'olwekyo njala kubasuubiza mwenna ne bannayuganda abali eyo nti ogwange ng'aduumira ttiimu eri mu Parliament nja kutuukiriza twabeewo yeebuzaabuza nti akyamala kudduka kwebuuza, twamaze dde okwebuuza kutambula ffenna. Mbasuubiza okutambula ne ttiimu eno n'ababaka bonna, era ngenda kubayita mu bwangu ddala mu caucus y'ababaka ba Parliament aba opposition okubategeeza ng'alina kyagamba gye tukoze tukyamu awanike omukono tumwerekere eka. Mwebale kumpuliriza.
Thank you very much. We've done more than 2 hours. We were supposed to have questions, now time can't allow. May I invite the chairman of JEMA to give us the closing prayer.
the name of God, the merciful, the benefactor. Oh Allah, High Allah, we thank you for bringing us together like this, for doing something that has not been often done, and that is for all the different political parties to come together. We thank you for that, and we pray that you guide this effort, you guide this initiative, you guide all the people who are involved in this, all Ugandans, as it has been emphasized here, those in political parties, those in professional bodies, the individuals, and everybody to work for the liberation of Uganda, for God and my country.
So that marks the end. May I invite our leaders to leave? We thank you very much. Yes.
Oppressed and suppressed, but still not silenced. When I demand for my right, them label me a rebel. But remember, I'm not a criminal. I'm not a criminal. Being political don't make me criminal. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a criminal. Speaking out don't make me no criminal. I'm not a criminal.
My right is my right. Express myself the way I want. My thoughts and my voice only represent my choice.
Natural.
Africa, wake up. Stand up for your rights.
Fight for your rights.
Mama land, get up and fight for your rights. Get up, wake up. This is the time. Get up, wake up. This is the time.
Well, don't have no fear when you stand for your rights, because you have a right to defend your rights. Don't let them tell you no lies. Never compromise your rights. They coulda beat and torture you in a prison. Now you go see book whatever season. Nobody can see you if you don't stand. Nobody can hear you if you don't shout out loud. Tell them I'm not a criminal. I'm not a criminal. Being political makes me no criminal. I'm not a criminal. Yeah, I'm not a criminal. I'm not a criminal.